Welcome to the Kitcast by Hull City Kits, where we take an in-depth look at the Tigers apparel past and present while monitoring the goings-on in the wider kit universe. I'm Les, and joining me again is Instagram parent and Match One shirt collector Adam Shearsmith.
Thanks for having me back, Les.
In this episode, we're going to give our opinions on the new crest that will appear on next year's shirts by Umbro. Hero of the Great Escape, Justin Whittle, talks kits with us, and we're going to look back on the Centenary kit after Twitter follower Shackle asked us to consider one of the earlier Diodora kits, and we're happy to oblige. But before all of that, we'll consider kit news, but not before I've asked you, Adam, to show us any interesting pickups you've made since we did Kitcast 2.
I've got a couple, actually. Really nice one that I've picked up recently is the away shirt from for Tom Kearney. It was worn in the Humber Derby, and it's really nice because it's a long sleeve one.
He was prone to long sleeve.
He was, yeah. My only bone of contention with it is a few autographs on the front of it, but as a shirt in general, really happy with it. It's a really nice one.
Very nice.
And then secondly, a Stuart Elliott. So it's a really nice pickup. I found it in a frame, so I've managed to save it, but it's got some really nice touches to it, bit of cracking on the sponsorship and on the patches as well, so it's yeah, nice little find, that one.
Yeah, these Coca-Cola League crest sleeve patches, there was quite prone to little bits of them coming loose and falling off. It does look like it's had a fair bit of wear, but thankfully they're all intact.
Yeah, so happy with that. What about yourself? Have you found anything?
Well, I have. I've got a couple, but I have been trying to be fairly fiscally responsible the last couple of months.
You didn't get tricked in with the classic football shirts?
The 20% offer. It was close. There was a Latvia Match One shirt that was singing to me, but I managed to show some restraint. But the two pickups I'm most pleased with since last time we've spoke is I got this shirt from the Swansea victory, where there was the one-off Kits for Africa sponsor, where they was trying to get people to donate shirts to be sent to grassroots football in Africa. This was issued to Irvine. Long hairs never look so good. Not quite sure if he wore it, but there's a good possibility, and it's my first shirt from this season, so
very nice.
Quite pleased to get hold of that
definitely.
one. And another one that I've picked up is this The Magic Man Paul McKenna shirt from 2011-2012. The great thing about striped shirts is it makes it easier to photo match the placement of the names, the number and the appliques, and sort of get that right. And I think I've managed to match this to the Bristol City game.
Very nice.
So quite pleased with that one. Okay, doke. So I suppose it's now time to consider sort of kit news. Has there been anything that's caught your attention?
The poppy shirts have just finished on Wednesday evening. So yeah, I was nice and happy to get one of those.
Was you happy with the Charity Stars website?
No, it's a bit of a funny one, that website. I don't want to go into too much with it, but yeah, not very happy with that. But I'm happy that I've picked up a shirt, so I managed to get Dan Batty's, so very happy with that, especially with the number being a lot lower on his shirt than the majority of the others. So yeah, happy with that pickup.
Yeah, fair enough. Which shirts went for the most amount of money?
The ones that went for the most, you're looking, Jared Bowen's went for $350, Grosicki's was $325, I believe, and then Reece Burke's went for $227. So I was expecting Campbell to be up there, but it doesn't go for that much. In total, I think it was around 3,700 that all the shirts had gone together for, so there's some money being spent there.
Yeah, was there any bargains amongst them, you think?
The two that I'd like to pick out for bargains, Todd Kane's was a really good one, and then Robbie McKenzie's, with him being a Hull lad and him actually it being a match one instead of an issued shirt for Robbie McKenzie, going for £110 I think is an absolute bargain for that one. So
good stuff. It was fascinating. I thought the City had taken the fair time in getting these shirts to the Royal British Legion for them to be auctioned, but a Watford fan messaged us on Twitter and said that their shirts haven't been even put up for sale at this point, so that was interesting.
The Birmingham ones have only just gone up as well. So
have they gone Charity Stars as well?
Yes, they have, yeah.
Oh, well, I'm sure they'll enjoy their £22 postage, and I'm sure they'll like that.
Yes.
Anything else that sort of grabbed your attention?
I'd like to tip my hat to Scunthorpe. They've gone out with a poll for their new design for their shirts, so definitely tip my hat to them. It reminds me of back in the day when City did it.
Yeah. The first time City did that was the 99-2000 season, and the shirts were made by Avec. It does seem interesting that it seems to be the smaller brands that are able to offer this, and your bigger brands. Perhaps because with the bigger brands, they tend to tie a lot of their shirts together thematically. You think, Umbro have put the double diamond taping on the sleeves. I just wonder if it's the fact that they try and have continuity across the shirts. Possibly, that makes it a little bit difficult for them to sort of offer something bespoke like that. But it's nice to see that that's come.
Speaking of the double diamond, we wore a different shirt for the Millwall Cup game.
We did, yes. And they had the FA Cup patches on as well. That was interesting. So that was the first time they've been worn with the third shirts. Those patches only tended to be worn if the game was televised. And amazingly, City against Millwall was televised somewhere, the land of wind and ghosts. Who knows where that was. But it's interesting that the City's appearance record in that shirt now is won 1 game, drawn 1 game, and lost 2. I don't think we're too bothered about the loss at Millwall.
No.
I think we'll ever see those shirts making an appearance?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. Also, saying that, I was in Rome last week, and they've just changed. They've bought back the rights for the merchandising from Nike, which is quite an interesting thing. So that's worth a read up on. I think Juventus did that too, didn't they?
They did, yeah. Juventus bought their rights back from Adidas. I think the original rationale behind it was they wanted to sell merchandise globally, but didn't think they had the global reach to do that, and they thought kit manufacturers like Nike and Adidas would have that, and it's true they did, but I think the problem was the deal was really weighted in favour of the kit supplier, and they took the biggest bulk of the money. I know Roma's frustration was if anybody wanted to make any merchandise like mugs or hats, not necessarily the kit, it was Nike that gave permission, and obviously that had an impact on the amount of money Roma could take from their own merchandise. So I think that's why they sort of took a financial hit and paid to get the rights back.
Very good.
Well, that's it for general kit news. Of course, the most newsworthy event of recent times was the launch of a new club crest, which looks like this. Adam, the new crest, what do you make of it?
I'm 70-30 on it, in all honesty. I like the shape of it. The shield's a nice thinner shield than I would expect. I'm ecstatic that the name's back on the badge. They can fit AFC in there as well at a later date. It can be moved across and you can fit the AFC into the top, so maybe down the line in the future it can be fitted in. I'm not too happy with the tiger's head.
Okay.
I think it looks a little bit rushed. But all in all, 70-30. I'm quite pleased with it.
Okay. I think that there's lots to like about it. So overall, I'm positive. I quite like the shield shape. I think it's quite modern. It's not too derivative. You mentioned Arsenal. A lot of clubs have gone with the bulging three-dimensional shape. Arsenal did.
Yeah.
I know Oldham went with that.
They did,
I think Chesterfield might have gone along with that as well. It looks fairly distinctive, and I like that. It reminds me of a guitar plectrum, but that's just my nickname for it. But I really quite like the shield. I love having the club's name back on it. I think that's a massive positive. And I really like this idea of the font being based on that was used on the railway plaque above the Go-Through Park Tunnel. I think that's a really good way to build on existing heritage and equity. 100%. So I think that's a really nice touch. I also like the fact that they fixed the kerning on 1904.
Yeah.
One of the things that bugged me about the previous crest was 1904, where they looked like there was a massive difference. The kerning between the 1 and the 904 was pretty big.
Yeah.
Really pleased that they fixed it. So I think all of those things are positives. But I do have some issues with the treatment of the tiger. Now, I need to say, in fairness, I've had issues with the 1972 tiger head for some time, and I've been calling for a couple of things being fixed on it. Because I don't think it actually resembles a tiger. The head's too round, and tigers' heads are quite angular. the nose isn't the correct shape. It's just like a button nose, and tigers have quite flat, wide noses. So I think that's something that's needed changing for a while. Tigers have a lot more white fur on them. So I've always thought, as much as I love that crest, because it predates me.
Yeah.
I was born in 1976. That was first used in 1972 on programs, and it made a shirt for the first time 1978, 79.
Yeah.
So pretty much for all of my sport in life, that has been the tiger. So I've got a great deal of affection for it. But I think there was just some point where I noticed it doesn't actually look much like a tiger. And there's been a lot of iterations of this tiger. It often looks like the club have changed it, but I think a lot of it's been down to the limitations of the company manufacturing it. So it's looked different on different crests. Sometimes it's winking, and sometimes there's issues with the eyes and stuff like that. But I think overall it's been meant to be the same tiger. But whenever there's been a redesign, they've always looked at the illustration in isolation and thought, how do we make this better? How do we change this? Without ever thinking, why don't we actually have a look at a picture of a tiger and see if we can do that? So if the tiger that's on this new crest is based on that one, it's going to have the same issues. But I also think they've added some issues to it as well. And I think there's two things that really surprise me about this crest. One, they appear to have just lopped a bit of the chin off. And so clearly a lot of people don't care because it's had a lot of love, but whenever I see it, I just notice there's something missing. And the other thing I found really strange is there's been a big move towards the simplification of crests, about making things more distinct. And I find it really strange that the tiger stripe pattern on the face, instead of making that simpler and more distinct, they've actually made it busier. And I found that a really odd choice, especially in a digital age when a lot of crests get shrunk to a tiny size to appear on social media sort of account windows. So I think that's a really odd move, because when you look at the tiger's head now, it's massively darker than the background. The previous one, the tiger's head was made up of the same colour as the background, but now it's sort of really dark because the pattern's so tight, black overwhelms it. And let me tell you why this is an issue, because if you have the tiger pattern not very tight, you get this look. And people love this. But if you make it really tight and dark, the black and the amber merge to the point where you get this effect. And not many people have got positive things to say about this shirt, but I think if you took a piece of the head and put that on a shirt, I think it's going to look more like that than it is the tiger stripe shirt that people have a lot of affection for. So I just found that a really strange change. And it's interesting, a lot of the people who follow Hull City kits, and we follow a lot of accounts for designers, designers for Adidas, designers for Nike. We follow a lot of kit designers, and professionals have almost been uniform in saying they find the changes to the tiger a little bit odd, even if they're quite like the other bits. And my opinion has echoed theirs. I think overall, it's a positive thing, and I think for most people the biggest thing is we've got our name back on the crest again. 100%. That's what we was all screaming for. So I think a lot of people are prepared to say it'll do on the basis of the fact that we've got the name back on the crest. But I would like to see, maybe over time, I would like to see the tiger head evolve, because I don't think there's anything that's done that couldn't be fixed easily and quickly. I think it could be done in house. It wouldn't cost a lot, and I don't think it'd make a big deal if suddenly it was cleaned up, and I don't think it would take away from the integrity of having fan engagement when it came to putting the crest together. Because fans, although they got to vote on individual elements and the arrangement of them, they were never involved in what the tigers they chose look like. So fans were never engaged in the design of that part. That bit of creation had already started. So I think if you were to make the changes, it doesn't affect the integrity of the
I agree with you completely there.
But overall, I mean, I've been talking about what I don't like about it for a while. It sounds like I'm being quite negative, but overall, I think the shield, the name on the crest, is a big improvement, and even despite the issues I've got with it, I still quite like it, because the changes that we wanted to see have happened.
It's an upgrade,
and the other things I think can be fixed.
It's definitely an upgrade.
What did you make of the way the club launched it?
I think the video that they used...
I don't mean the video with me in, by the way.
I think the video that they used with you in was great, but also the video that they used to show who'd been on the panel, I think was nice and clear. It was well taken. I think the club have got it right with what they've done. I just think it's a long time coming.
Yeah.
So
I like the way they did it. I like the launch videos and stuff, because if you remember, the launch of the previous crest was just a photograph of an Umbro ball and the new crest.
Yeah, it was
in the changing room. It was really simple. There was nothing to it. Whereas I like the fact that this has been thought through, and they've shown a little bit of the working and what the process of the new crest is. So I've quite liked it.
Here are the new crest thoughts from our co-producer, city shirt collector and diabolical genius behind the Hull KR Shirts Twitter page, Mikey Carter.
Yeah, so we've finally had the anticipation relieved from us, and we've now got the opportunity to see the new Hull City crest. My thoughts on the new crest are that it's kind of a safe option from the club. I feel like by introducing the very similar tiger head again, they've kind of given us the opportunity to sort of love something that we've already loved in the past. I know the lad spoke earlier on about the effect on the head, so I won't talk about that too much, but I do agree with what they said earlier on. One thing that I'm really interested in with regards to the new crest is that a lot of people boycotted merchandise for the last sort of 3 or 4 years whilst we've had the new crest. Now, the interesting thing that I would like to see is if there is going to be more people that will now buy replica shirts again, due to the fact that we've got a new crest. It's got the Hull City name back on there, which is something that the fans have kind of been talking about now for quite a while. So with that coming back on, I'm hopeful that the club will see an increase in revenue as well through replica shirt sales. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this.
Thanks very much, Mikey.
No problem. Yeah, whilst I'm here, I had a little look around and I heard that Justin Whittle was here.
He was. I'll pass over to Les because he asked him 3 questions.
So Justin, this is a selection of most of the shirts that you played in. Do you have a sort of favourite, one that either brings back good memories or one that you like the design of?
This one is one of my favourite because I think I scored at Cambridge away.
Cambridge, yeah.
Header, Ryan Williams, bullet header. Top, I think it was, and I played there the year after. And another bullet header, but I think someone nicked it on the line, got 10 on it. I think it was pricey, claimed it.
Nice. Was there any of these shirts that you thought, oh, I didn't really like wearing that one?
The material on that one.
And the collar roller.
Yeah, obviously you can still see it rolling now. That was my least favourite, but you know that one wasn't too bad. That look, cause I don't know, for some reason I look good in white, so I like white. So yeah, it's definitely my favourite. Yeah, definitely that one was my favourite shirt, without doubt.
Just one thing about your equipment. How come your captain's armband always look like elastoplasts?
I don't know, because my arm was never big enough to hold the proper one up. It used to fall down.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't have big enough muscles.
So
Yeah.
Yeah. And just finally, I always thought you had an unusual choice of boots. You used to wear Mizuno.
Mizunos.
What was the Mizuno choice about?
It's because I've got such a high instep. The Mizuno had more studs, so it was more comfortable. With a normal just have 2 and 4. And that middle stud always give me blisters there. The Mizuno, the stud was slightly different, so the stud was obviously there and there, so they never actually on my pressure point. That's the only reason I like Mizuno, yeah, because
knowledge. Right then, let's revisit the 2004-2005 season, Hull City's Centenary, and look at the home shirt. So, first of all, Adam, when you see this shirt, what images does it conjure up for you?
Well, first of all, it's obviously Nick Barnby at Sheffield Wednesday.
With the white shorts?
Yes, with the white shorts, but what a great game that was with so many people there. And then there's Leon Court punching the air when we'd won promotion. That's always a nice picture to see. And Theo in goal.
Yeah, the Tranmere home game. I'm reminded of the Tranmere away game when Craig Fagan made his debut in long sleeves in this shirt. That one sort of stood out for me. So is this a shirt where your feelings for it have changed over time, or have they remained consistent, you think?
I was really happy when it first came out, just because we hadn't been striped. We hadn't been wearing stripes for such a long time. I think it was 4, maybe 5 seasons that we'd not worn stripes. So when it originally came out, I was over the moon with it. Looking back, it's very clumpy. The neckline reminds me a little bit of the old Liverpool shirt, but there's some nice touches to it. The Centenary years on the crest is always nice. And the long sleeve version just didn't seem to just give it that justice. Yeah, what about you?
Well, I was on the fans liaison committee for a while, and I was initially very disappointed that Adam Pearson favoured plain amber shirts. In fact, the first time he mentioned it, he said, I want to wear gold at home and silver away. That was for the 2001-02 season. I was gutted when he said gold, and I did tell him it was amber. But I sort of pestered him, knowing the centenary year was coming up, to sort of have stripes for that season, and eventually. It wasn't just me, eventually the whole table wore him down, and eventually allowed us to wear stripes, and there was like a bit of a thing where we was looking at old pictures and trying to measure the width of the stripes and see how it fits. So absolutely delighted that we're wearing stripes. The kit design we're known for in our centenary season. I think from an aesthetic point of view, I think it's an attractive looking shirt. The amber's definitely a bit deeper than the season it was before, and one of the most deeper ambers we've had in recent years. And I found that quite noticeable, but not to the point where it bugged me. But although I think it's aesthetically very pleasing, I don't think it must have been a good shirt for the players to wear. It's not a garment that's made for athletics in mind. It's quite a heavy garment. It's not something that would sort of wick sweat, I don't think. So it's an interesting one, and I think that's because, despite the fact that it's got Diodora branding on it, it wasn't actually made by Diodora. It was designed and made in Hull by Dewhursts, who at that point had a factory on Sutton Fields, and City merely licensed the Diodora name. And a couple of years after, Diodora would design and make a kit for City, and you could really tell
that shirt was beautiful though. The
difference was night and day. That was an athletic garment. Wasn't just aesthetically well put together. It felt like
moulded the right.
Absolutely. Whereas that was a little bit lacking on this one. But I did think nonetheless it's a nice shirt. It's distinctive and it's quite iconic.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, who doesn't like watching Elliot cartwheel?
Well, Stuart Elliott, yeah. He certainly plundered a lot of goals from midfield that season. Would you like to see a prototype version?
Actually, yeah.
So, I picked this up on eBay. This is quite fascinating. Now, one thing that I mentioned about it had the Diodora branding, but it was made locally in Hull. I think what's a bit of a giveaway to that is it's got the same crest on the prototype as was on the Patrick branded shirts, because they too was made by Dewhurst, and City just licensed the name Patrick. But what's absolutely fascinating, as you've just stretched out, is the oblique stripes on the sleeves. What do you make of those?
It's strange, isn't it? It's nice to see a different way that it could have been. I'm not so keen on the cuffs, but...
Well, if you'll notice, each cuff has got a different style, so that the club were given a choice. And the one they went with was maybe a little bit nearer to this, I think, although there was a slight different material change. And that style of cuff was used on the following year's kit, certainly on the short sleeves versions. So it's fascinating. I think if it hadn't have been a centenary kit, this would have been interesting. But you can't say we're doing a kit to look back at 100 years of the club and then suddenly have oblique stripes that come out of nowhere. So I can understand why that wasn't dropped. And you can also see as well that, we mentioned about the amber being deeper on the centenary year. This is a little bit lighter.
It is.
Not massively, but just a little bit lighter. So clearly there was a decision made to sort of darken the kit a little bit there. Last thoughts on...
Nice touch. It's a really nice touch, a nice little collection piece.
Yeah, pleased to have that one. Right, that's it for this episode. I'd like to thank Adam.
You're more than welcome.
I'd like to thank co-producer Mikey and also co-producer John Lay. Tell us what you think. If there's anything you want us to discuss, get in touch and we'll consider it. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We are Hull City Kits on there. Thanks for watching.